silence, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo.
Thank you very much. Hello, Dubuque, and hello, Iowa. I'm thrilled to be back in the proud home of the first in the nation caucuses. You know why? Because I put you there, and I'm going to keep you there. You're going to always be there. You're going to always be there. The Democrats did it a little bit differently. They left, remember? I have a feeling you're going to remember that. Less than 4 months from now, each of you is going to cast the most important vote of your lives. It's going to be the most important election of all of our lives because our country is going to hell. With your support, on Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses in a historic landslide. We're going to crush crooked Joe Biden. We're going to crush crooked Joe. Next November, we're going to make America great again in the most important election in the history of our country. I want to thank state representatives. Shannon Lundgren, she's been so great. Where's Shannon? Stand up, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. Great job. Steve Bradley. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. And Bobby Kaufman. Thank you, Bobby. Thanks, Bobby. And thank you all for being here. This is a big crowd. You got a lot of people outside trying to get in. Thanks as well to Representative Luana Stoltenberg for her endorsement today. She gave us a big, beautiful endorsement. Is she here? I think she is. Yes, she is. She saw me outside. She said, I write you a note a day. A note a day, think of that. And I pray for you every day. She said, you get the notes? I said, yeah. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We're also pleased to be joined by a star in the party, a man who's respected by everybody in Washington, and he's got to get back because he's got votes not to make. I think votes not to make. Do you understand that? Yeah. But he's a great person. He's a great man. He's got an incredible future. His wife comes from the area, Congressman Wesley Hunt. And Mrs. Hunt, thank you. Come from this area or the other area? Huh? From both. She's smart. She says from both. And also somebody who's a terrific person was with us right from the beginning, Congressman Rod Blum. Thank you, Rod. And my former acting attorney general, great person, great football player, actually, Matt Whitaker. Oh, you're very popular, Matt. And a man I just met, great law enforcement, Howard County Sheriff Tim Beckman. Tim, thank you, Tim. Thank you very much, Tim. One of the most important issues in this campaign is ending the nation-wrecking catastrophe on our southern border. There's never been anything like this. Under my leadership, we had the most secure border in U.S. history, acknowledged by everybody. Now we have the worst border probably in the history of the world. There's no place in the world with a border like we have. Millions and millions of people coming in. Under Crooked Joe, lawless mobs of unscreened, unvetted illegal alien migrants are stampeding across our border by the millions and millions, including hordes of criminals, terrorists, human traffickers, child smugglers, gang members, and inmates emptied out of their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions. And that sounds bad, but it's actually worse than that. This is an invasion, and I'm the one candidate who, from day one, knows exactly how to stop it. We're going to stop it very quickly. I believe the number is going to be, by the end of the year, 15 million. The real number is 15 million people. That's the size of New York State. A vote for President Trump means Joe Biden's horror show at the southern border ends at noon on Inauguration Day 2025. In 2016, you remember this, I ran on the border wall. That was a big deal. I ran on the border in the unsecure and very unsafe border. And we did so well that by 2020, the election of 2020, nobody even talked about the border. I couldn't bring it up. It was a subject nobody, because we had it down so good that it ceased to become a campaign issue. And now the entire world is saying, once again, that Trump was right. We were so right. And by the way, we did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016, but we didn't talk about the border. Because we did such a good job with the border. Nothing to talk about. If Crooked Joe had simply kept my policies in place, illegal immigration would right now be at just historic lows. We were at a level that nobody had ever seen. That includes drugs, human traffickers, everything else. Now we have the highest amount of drugs ever in history. Again, I think pouring into any country. They're totally unchecked. All we had to do was, and this is all he had to do. Who's advising this guy? All he had to do is go to the beach. He's going to the beach all the time now, right? Every time I turn on, they show him at the beach. He can barely lift the chair. The chair lifts like, it's about a half a pound. Can't lift it. Can't get his feet through the sand. One of his consultants, one of his many consultants says, this is a good look for you. Go to the beach. I think he's probably a Republican, the consultant. But all he had to do is go to the beach, do nothing, and leave the border alone. He'd have historic lows right now. We did a great job. Just think of what we achieved under the Trump administration. I ended the human, economic, and national security calamity known as catch and release, where you catch somebody and release them in the United States, oftentimes criminals. I gave a free hand to our great ICE agents and let them do their jobs. These are brave people. I have friends in the audience. A couple of them are tough people, very tough people, but they're not tough like the ICE people. They go into those nests of MS-13. They go in there swinging. This is not like a normal situation. This is a rough job for my three friends here. They think they're tough guys. You're not going to do it. But they go in there swinging and grab them and put them into the paddy wagons, and we take them out of the country. In the older days with a man named Barack Hussein Obama. Did anybody ever hear of him? Barack Hussein Obama. They wouldn't take them back in these countries where they came from. Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. They wouldn't take them back. They put airplanes on the runways, big airplanes, commercial jets on the runways, so when they'd fly in, they couldn't land. They stopped the buses from bringing them back. And they said to me, sir, we can't get them out. It's impossible. They won't take them back. I said, how much money do we give them as a country? $750 million for the three primary countries where you have the MS-13. $750 million, which is peanuts compared to what we give away to a lot of others, which we're stopping. And we were stopping it fast. But I said, stop payment immediately. So we stopped payment. The following morning, I got a call, all three separately. Sir, I understand there's a misunderstanding with regard to our wonderful gang members from MS-13. We love them very much. What is the problem, sir? I said, well, you know, we give you a lot of money, but you won't take them back for about 7 years, almost 10 years. You're not taking them back. Sir, we would be, absolutely, would be honored to take them back. Please send them our way. We will take them back. We love MS-13 very much. So we started sending them back, and they took them so fast, you have no idea. We still didn't pay them. We held it for a while. Held it as long as possible. We deported a record number of illegal aliens all the way back then, and they had a horrible, horrible situation going, and they announced fraudulent removal numbers, totally fraudulent numbers. We sent home nearly 1 million illegals during my first term, and we will far surpass that number because we have no choice. No country can sustain what's happened to us in the last 3 years. No country can sustain it. Just as I promised, I built nearly 500 miles of border wall. You know, they like to say, oh, it was only 50. No. If there was a little board laying on the ground because there was a wall that was built 60 years ago and it was rotted, just laying on the ground, they'd remove it. They'd say, that was a renovation. That wasn't a new wall. No, no. We built, and it's actually in their stats, and even the Democrat stats, almost 500 miles of wall. And we took it out of the military because Congress was terrible on this issue, terrible. Even certain Republicans like Mitch McConnell. Is he a Republican? No. Isn't he a Democrat? I thought he was a Democrat. He gives them everything they want. I thought he was a Democrat. But, you know, we took that, and because I called it an invasion. I said, this is an invasion of our country. But nobody ever thought they'd see numbers like what you're seeing today. We completely finished our original plan and then built even more wall. Almost 200 miles of additional wall was there, ready to be installed. Could have been done in 3 weeks. And they said, no, we don't want it. We want to have open borders. And a lot of people, including me, thought they were kidding. They weren't kidding. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. Either they are not smart, and I think they have to be smart because anybody that cheats on elections like that can't be stupid, or they want to destroy our country, which is, I think, what they want to do. Where the wall went up, illegal border crossings went way down by an incredible, almost 100%. And when I said Mexico will pay for the wall, they largely did. You know, they like to say, I said Mexico. Well, I called up Mexico. I said, you know, you're letting a lot of people in as we're building the wall, because once the wall goes up, but then they seek, you know, it's like water. They seek an area where there's an opening. But where the wall went up, but I said to Mexico, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers, armed soldiers, because you're letting in people at a level that nobody's ever seen before. No, 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 we won't do that. I said, yes, you will, because if you don't do it, I'm going to put a tariff on everything you sell to us, including the car industry that they stole 32%. And I happen to like the president of Mexico a lot. He's a socialist, but you can't have everything. But I like him. But his representative came and said, we would never do that. The State Department said, sir, they'll never do that. We've been trying for 20 years, sir. I said, that's okay. You'll do it 100%. They said, no, no, they won't do it. I said, I guarantee you they'll do it. I didn't want to make him a bet because a long time ago during a debate, Romney made a bet. Do you remember that? That didn't work out well. Do you remember? He said, I'll bet you $10,000. And then immediately he became known as an elitist. 2 bets, 10,000, right? I would have made him a bet, but I didn't want that to happen to me. But I said to the person, a woman who was very good, but she was dealing with Mexico for 20 years, never got anything. And he came in, the top representative of Mexico. I said, listen, you're going to give us 28,000 soldiers because you're letting a lot of people go through your country. No, no, we cannot do that. I said, yes, you can. And if you don't, we're going to put a 25% tariff on everything, including the millions of cars that you sell into our country every year. He said, sir, I'd like to go and make a phone call. Do you mind? I said, not at all. Call the president, because that's who he was calling. He comes back 5 minutes. Sir, it would be our great honor to supply you with 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And we had great numbers. We had great numbers, and best numbers we've ever had. And, you know, it's just so sad when I see there's so many stories like that with French, with the wine. I said, I'm going to tax your wines. If you do this to us, I'm going to tax your wines and champagne. And they said, oh, you can't do it. And then they said, well, if you're going to tax our wine, are you sure you're going to do that? I said, I'm 100% sure. Here's the legislation. They said, sir, we are not going to do anything to your companies. They're going to tax all of our companies, a massive number. And then I said, I'm going to tax your wine and champagne. As soon as I said that, they said, we would be delighted not to tax your companies. We don't want our companies taxed in France. So I negotiated remain in Mexico, forcing fraudulent asylum seekers to stay in Mexico until we could tell them that their phony asylum claim was denied. Denied. Now, by contrast, in his first 100 days in office, crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Marxists took 94 open border actions. Think of it, 94. He canceled the border wall, ordered a virtual shutdown of ICE, implemented nationwide catch and release. Nobody's ever seen the kind of things he did. They got to hate our country. Ended remain in Mexico. Remember, it used to be remain in the United States and come back in 5 years for your court case. Me, I get a court case in 30 days. Takes them 5 years. Takes them 5 years, come back, and they never show up and nobody cares. They ripped up my asylum bans, terminated my expedited removals under Title 42, which was a big deal. Even the judge said, are you sure you want to do that? and began resettling millions and millions of illegal migrants into our communities at taxpayer expense. Numbers like nobody's ever seen, not just New York, it's all of our cities, but countrysides too. You're being affected. Even here, you're being affected. Biden puts China first, Mexico first, Ukraine first, Canada first, Europe first, Asia first, illegal aliens first, everyone first. But he puts America last, he puts our military last, he puts veterans last, he puts everything that's good and proper to be last. That's what it is. It's called America Last. That's what his program is. And I don't think he understands his program anyway. It's people that surround him that are doing it, because he doesn't have a clue. The guy can't put together two sentences. I put America first every single time. Thank you. Thank you very much. The Biden border disaster is now so egregious that the far-left mayors of New York, Chicago, and even the liberal governors of New York, Massachusetts are slamming Crooked Joe, the most corrupt president in our history, the most incompetent president in our history, for swamping their cities and towns with thousands of unwanted migrants, bringing crime, disease, and colossal burdens on our schools, hospitals, and public resources. You see in New York where kids who don't speak, it's not their fault, kids who don't speak a word of English are being put into classrooms. They're sitting there, they're saying, what am I doing? What am I doing here? They don't do anything about it. There's nothing they can do about it. The mayor of New York said the migrant crisis will destroy New York City, and he was excoriated for saying that. But even worse, Biden's deadly border betrayals are destroying innocent lives. Just days ago, an illegal alien criminal who was previously caught and released into the interior by Crooked Joe was arrested for brutally murdering a 28-year-old young man. Fabulous future ahead of this young man, stabbing him many, many times. In Erie County, New York, another illegal alien who was among hundreds and hundreds of migrants who were flowing in, bused from New York City to upstate rural communities by the mayor. Communities like this were charged with raping a woman in a hotel room in front of her 3-year-old toddler and beating her up very badly. Another illegal alien bust to the same area attacked an aid worker tasked with helping the migrants. This was a person who was helping the migrants out of whatever feelings she may have had. And then he violently raped her again and again. Many people have been badly hurt and even killed by the illegal migrants invading our country. If you want, does anyone ever hear the snake? Do you know the snake? Should I do it or not? You tell me. We have time, right? I brought it. Should I do it? All right. It's a metaphor. It's so accurate. But it's not a snake. It's people that we're allowing into our country. Many criminals, people from jails, from mental institutions, terrorists. This is what? And this is where I think it's quite accurate. On our way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, "Thank you, ma'am," the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. That's what's happening. That's what's happening to our country. That's what's happening to our country. We're taking people in from prisons. We're taking people in from insane asylums. Please don't use that word, sir. That's Silence of the Lambs stuff, right? We're taking mental institutions. We're bringing in terrorists. That's what's happening. That's so accurate. It's so accurate. And it's happening now, but it's going to happen more so and more so. But we'll stop it for the most part. Look, there are 15 million people. That's a lot. But we'll stop it one way or the other. We're going to stop it. What they're doing to our country is they're destroying it. It's the blood of our country. What they're doing is destroying our country. Not one more innocent life should be wrecked by Joe Biden's open border agenda. It's what it is. It's a horrible open border, a sick agenda. It's a sick person's agenda. In my first term, I did more to secure our border than any president by far in history. Here is what I'll do in our second term, because it's us together. It's the greatest movement. It's the greatest movement. Thank you. This is the greatest movement in the history of our country and probably any country. And if we do this, it'll be written about for hundreds of years. We have to do it much bigger if we do it this way than if they did what they should have done with the election. Much, much bigger. It'll be much bigger. Plus, it shows how bad they were at operating this country, at running this country. So we'll be able to do things that you might not have really been politically able to do if it went in a more normal path. It's a lot more work, a lot more grief. You know, if I were in last place or third or fourth or fifth or something, I wouldn't get indicted. If I didn't run, I'd be right now in a beautiful beach somewhere, but a real beach, and I'd be able to lift my own chair, believe me. I'd be able to get my feet. I'd get my feet through that sand. But nothing would have happened. This is election interference. That's all it is. This is election. These are Biden indictments. These aren't indictments. People say, sir, you've been indicted, like it's legit. The fake news back there. Oh, that's a lot of them. Look at them. Got a lot of cameras going. Whoa. Got a lot of cameras going. But no, it's fake stuff. Think of it. This man, first time it's happened in this country, it happens in banana republics, it happens in third world countries a lot. But this man indicted his political opponent who's leading the Republican Party by 50 to 60 points and who's leading him. One came out today by 9 points. That's a lot, actually. It's got an expression. If you can't beat him, indict him. Find something. Find something. Upon my inauguration, I will immediately terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. We'll get it back. And follow the Dwight D. Eisenhower model. So Eisenhower was very tough on the border. People don't see him as that, but he was. We'll carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. And I'll also invoke immediately the Alien Enemies Act to remove all known or suspected gang members. We have tremendous numbers of gang members. MS-13, the worst gangs in the world, they say. The drug dealers, the cartel members from the United States, ending the scourge of illegal alien gang violence once and for all. We took them out by the thousands, thousands and thousands of people we took out. And then the election got rigged and we didn't participate and they came in and so many other bad things happened, including Russia would have never gone into Ukraine. China wouldn't be talking about Taiwan. I will shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, including parts of the DEA, ATF, FBI, and DHS, all of them you know. And I'll make clear that we must use any and all resources needed to stop the invasion, including moving thousands of troops currently stationed overseas, guarding other people's borders. We guard other people's borders, but we don't guard our own. Think of it. They say to us, what are you doing? You're guarding our... They don't even want it. They don't even want it. Remember, I moved the troops from... We had 5,000 troops between Syria and Turkey, and I moved them. I took them out. I took them out, and everyone said, oh, that's terrible. I said, they've been guarding their borders for 2,000 years. They don't need our... And it was very dangerous, because these 5,000 troops, it sounds like a lot, but they were between two armies of hundreds of thousands of people. 5,000 people is nothing. They were going to be decimated. Everyone said, oh, taking them out is terrible. I took them out, nothing happened. They fought for a little while, the two countries, and then they said, let's work out a peace deal. They worked out a peace deal. We got all our people out. The fake news never likes to talk about all of those things. We did things that nobody has ever seen before. Before we defend the borders of foreign countries, we must secure the border of our country. It's very simple. I will deploy the U.S. Navy to impose a fentanyl blockade, and we did that previously, and we were knocking that out. You wouldn't believe it. They were having a lot of problems. But it's going to be a blockade on the waters of our region, boarding and inspecting ships to look for fentanyl and fentanyl. The people that sell the fentanyl, who are very rich people, very, very rich people. But you know, I believe the real number is 300,000 people a year being killed. In a war, you don't lose that many people. We're being invaded by foreign interests, including business interests, because these are the biggest companies. These are bigger than the companies you read about in the Wall Street Journal. These are big, big, powerful companies. What they do to our country is incredible. And they met great force with us, and they were going to meet a bigger force. And then we had the dust blow in from China. And we had another problem that we had to work, and we did a great job with it. Didn't get the credit we deserved, but we did a great job. We left the stock market higher than it was if you look at pre-COVID coming in, or the China virus, to be more accurate, coming in. We left the stock market higher. I'll also use Title 42, you know what that is, to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. These children have been kidnapped. You saw the great movie, Freedom, you saw the movie, but these children have been kidnapped. But we cannot wait until 2025 to begin stopping Biden's nightmare as a president and on the border. That's why I'm calling on congressional Republicans to ban Joe Biden from using a single taxpayer dollar to release or resettle illegal aliens into the United States effective September 30th. And you know, the Republicans are very good people, but honestly, they have to get tougher. They got to get tougher, because they're fighting a fight that these other people, they're dirty fighters. These are dirty people. The time for talk is over. Now is the time for action. We need action. I will bring back the travel ban and expand it even further to keep radical Islamic terrorists out of our country. Look how it worked for 4 years. Look how it worked. It worked so incredibly. All the things that happened, but for 4 years, look how it worked. We didn't have problems. We didn't have problems. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it in many ways, because you cause yourself your own problem. But we didn't have problems. We were very tough. I will also use existing federal law to deny entry to all communists and Marxists to the United States. We have people coming in, known communists, known Marxists, known fascists, and they're coming into the United States, and we don't want them. We got enough of them. We have enough of them in Congress, you want to know the truth. We have enough of them in our own Congress. The worst enemy is the enemy from within. Nancy Pelosi and little Adam Schiff with his pencil neck. I call him pencil neck. He's got the smallest neck. I don't know how his neck holds up his head. He's got the smallest neck. He is not going to be playing on Iowa or Iowa State football team, that I can tell you. No, he's such a horrible human being. I mean, they make this stuff up. Disinformation, misinformation, it's the same thing, essentially. Disinformation, misinformation. They make up Russia, Russia, Russia. Then they get caught on that, and they go to the next one. Let's go next. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. That's all they're good at. Policy, no good. Open borders, high taxes, no voter ID. We want to have elections, by the way. All paper elections. We want voter ID, and we want no mail-in ballots. No mail-in ballots. Thank you, Al. You know, it's one of the biggest things when you look at polls. The polls say that it's one of the biggest things, election fraud. People in this country, you got to have borders, and you have to have free and fair elections. Otherwise, you don't have a country. Those who join our country must love our country, and we're going to keep foreign, Christian-hating communists, Marxists, socialists. We're going to keep them the hell out of America. We don't want them. It's no wonder the far-left lunatics are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary. When you look at the polls are through the roof. We have great polls, best polls we've ever had. You know, it's amazing. I'm the only person ever indicted who went way up in the polls. Everyone else, true. I get indicted for saying the election was rigged. I get indicted for saying that Joe Biden is a crook. That's a terrible thing to say. They didn't know how crooked he was until the last few months. And I have to say, Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer, they're doing a good job. They really are. As you know, Crooked Joe and his radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading opponent on fake and phony charges. This is high-level election interference. It's what they do. And it's happening for a single reason, because I'm the only candidate they do not want to run against. I'm the only one that shows that I'm winning in the polls, too. You know, the only one that's beating them in the polls. They start off at a level, a Democrat. It's much easier to be a Democrat. You know, they start off at a certain level that they get, no matter how bad you are. Because I kept saying, how come he's at 37? Well, you know, he's got, I don't want to insult any groups, because we get a lot of them, too, like unions. They come in, they're coming in for us big. The auto workers, they want to destroy the auto workers in this country. They want to have cars made all electric. They're all going to be made within 3 years. They're all going to be made in China. The auto workers, it doesn't matter what they get. It doesn't matter what they get, because they're not going to have a job in 3 years. The new Fox poll has me up by almost 50 points over Ron DeSanctimonious and beating Biden by a lot. You know, I call him DeSanctimonious because he would have never been in politics. He was finished. He was out. The election was virtually over. He came in. He begged me for an endorsement. I said, I don't know. I did say this one of the few times I made a statement. Wasn't totally. I said, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead, Ron, and they endorse you, you'd still lose. You'll lose it by so much. He said, no, you're very popular in Florida. I love Florida. He said, if you endorse me, I think I'll win. And I gave him an endorsement. I didn't know the other person. He was Secretary of Agriculture, Adam Putnam. I hear he's a good man, but I didn't know him. So I gave him an endorsement, and he was like a rocket ship. Just from the endorsement, he went up. He won a few days later. I mean, literally a short time later, he won the primary. Then he ran against somebody who turned out to be a crackhead, but he was the hottest politician in the Democrat Party. Remember? Good-looking guy. He was going to be, you know, automatic. He was going to be a president someday. Lots of luck. I hope he has an easier path than I had. But he was going to be a president someday, and Ron said, I won't be able to beat him. I said, Ron, I'm going to give you a couple of big Trump rallies, and you're going to beat him. And we gave him rallies, and he won. And then 4 years later, they scream at him, these lunatics in the back, the press. Will you run against the president, they said to him. And he looked at him, I have no comment. I said, no comment? This guy has no comment. That means he's running. And I started hitting him from the following day, you know, and I got a lot of heat. A lot of people would call, sir, you shouldn't attack him. He's a Republican. I said, I don't care. Difference does that make? And you see how he's done. He's been like a bird sadly wounded, very badly wounded, actually, in flight. So he's been crashing. And we just got a poll in, I think, New Hampshire. He's in 5th place. So I wish him a lot of luck. You know, when you're loyal, and my consultants, they all get paid all this money, they don't know much. Okay? I want to use the word crap, but then I get myself in trouble. The First Lady says, darling, you shouldn't use that word. Sometimes I'll say hell. She say, darling, you shouldn't use that word. I don't know. But so I won't use the word crap. I won't use it. But they don't know too much. It doesn't sound as good when you say that, right? They don't know too much. They don't know crap. Right, Wesley? Wesley knows what I'm talking about, right? But anyway, but they said the people don't care about loyalty. Look, they don't care if he was loyal to you or not. Don't even mention it. I said, let me do my own thing, if you don't mind. They said, you'll never run for president because nobody ever became president unless you were a general. Did you know that? 92% of the people were politicians, and 8% were generals. So I wasn't a politician. I wasn't a general. And I ran. They said, you won't win. So these are the same people that are telling me this. But with Ron, they said, nobody cares about his loyalty to you. Take it off the table. I said, I'm not going to take it off the table. I'm going to, and you know what? I think it's one of the big reasons that he's failed so badly. Second of all, he is not a talented politician, obviously, because he hasn't done very well. But you know, when you get somebody, Wesley, here's a guy who's loyal to me. I gave him an indictment. By the way, I think Wesley would say I helped him a hell of a lot, right? But he's somebody that appreciates it. I think people should appreciate it. I appreciate it when people do things for me. But this guy didn't appreciate it, so I hit him exceedingly hard. Some people say, why do you hit him so hard? Because I gave him the position, I made him, and then he announced he was going to run against me. That's a bad seed. That's a bad seed. In the CBS poll, I'm beating Biden and leading by, in some cases, 15 points with independents. Remember, they used to say, well, Trump has a problem with independents. I don't think so. Then they said, Trump has a problem with women. No, I don't have a problem with women. You know, the women... I don't have a problem with them. You know what the women want? The women want more than it. They don't want crime. They want to have strong borders. They don't want people pouring into their neighborhoods and sleeping on their lawn. They were talking about the suburban woman. I think I did great with suburban women, okay? They want to see a well-run country. That's what women want, and we're doing great with everybody now. We're doing great with everybody. In yesterday's morning console poll, I'm 46 points, not 46 points, but 46 points up. Not just at 46. Most people would be very happy to have 46. No, I'm 46 up in the primary and beating Biden in the general election, while DeSantis is losing. Ron DeSantis is losing. You see the NBC the other day? They said, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to interview Governor Ron DeSantis. He said, no, my name is DeSantis. Well, he actually changed it. DeSantis, right? Did you see? He changed his name. I said, never change your name in the middle of a campaign. Bad. But here in Iowa, I'm up over 37 points on DeSantis, 51-14. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Kaufman. That's a pretty good number, Kaufman. That's not bad. You must be doing a better job than even your father does, right? Father's a great guy, by the way. We did great in 2016 and won. We did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016, getting millions and millions more votes. And we're going to do the best of all in 2024. We're going to do numbers like they've never seen before. They rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024 because our country can't stand it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, fascists, every time they indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. There must be something a little strange up here because most people crawl into a corner and they die. I'm being indicted for you. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I am. I'm being indicted for you, actually. He questioned the election. He questioned the election. He must be indicted immediately. How many Democrats questioned my election against... I don't call her crooked Hillary because I'm using that now for Biden. I don't like to have to. You know, there are enough words. So I call her beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. I call her beautiful, beautiful Hillary. But how many Democrats, think of it, went after my election? I mean, they still, now they're keeping a little bit quiet, you know. It doesn't look good. Never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who are capable of stopping them, and they know that. We are going to stop them, and we've really stopped them. And the only crime that I committed in the true sense of the word was beating Hillary Clinton, and I screwed them up. I screwed them up so badly. I screwed them up. That was not supposed to happen, but I thought it would. We'd have rallies like this. I will tell you, though, I said before, there's more spirit. Look at this group. This was supposed to be just a little gathering, and then boom. Can't get into the hall. We just did another one, and you can't get into the hall. It's amazing. There's more spirit now than there ever was for either of these two races, and a lot of that, I don't think I've changed too much. A lot of it is because they're so bad. It's so bad. People see it, and they see the contrast, and we did do a great job. We get credit for being one of the greatest administrations. We rebuilt our military, biggest tax cuts ever, biggest regulation cuts ever, strongest border. Would have been no Ukraine. You would have had no inflation because energy caused inflation. You would have had no inflation. We had no inflation. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. And they want to silence me, Wesley, because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. That's right. As your president, I fought for the people of Iowa like no one has ever fought before, fought hard for you. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten even 10 cents from China, not 10 cents. They let China just kill the world economically. I then gave the farmers $28 billion straight out of the tariffs I took from China, a large part of which came from... I mean, Iowa was very badly abused by China. You know that. A lot of the money that I got came to Iowa. That's why I went around a little bit. I got to be a little careful with that because people, my father would say to me, you know, you got to be a little bit lower key on that stuff. He'd say, take the lumps out. I said, there's no way that Iowa would vote against me. There's no way that Nebraska, there's no way that any of the farm states, Wisconsin would never vote. I said, there's no way. It's a horrible statement because I got them $28 billion from China. Who the hell else would do that? Who would know how to do that, right? Right, Al? I got them $28 billion. So I got a little bit sassy. I say, you know, I had a little too much confidence, although actually the numbers have actually turned out even better than I thought so far. We'll keep it that way. But I said there's no way that I would ever go against because I got them $28 billion for the farmers. And by the way, hundreds of billions of dollars for our country. It went right into the Treasury of the United States. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, the best trade deal ever made for our country. And we know that. You know why? Because they're trying to change it. Mexico and Canada are trying like you wouldn't believe to get it changed. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Biden group change it because, you know, Canada first too, by the way. I've been an unwavering defender of Iowa ethanol, which is very important for your state, issuing a rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round. Nobody thought, remember, it used to be 8 months. I got it all year round. I did all of this. I also dramatically increased the number of fueling pumps where E15 could be sold across the country. And I also got the pumps that they could keep the original pumps because they were actually better than the new ones, but they wanted everybody to change their pumps. I said, what's the difference? Well, the old ones are actually better, but we just want them changed. I said, no, you're not going to do that. So we were able to use the pumps, little things like that. I don't want to bring it up, but little things like that. And I'll remain your ethanol champion with 4 more years in the White House. Now, DeSanctimonious is a sworn enemy of ethanol. Ron DeSantis, he repeatedly sponsored legislation to demolish the entire industry and called ethanol, quote, a noxious example of money-seeking and crony capitalism. That's not nice. And then he comes out, I think I'll be in favor of ethanol. Now, you know, one thing about a politician, when they come out for something early, that's where they end up going. They may change during an election, but that's where they end up going. If DeSantis gets his way, Iowa's economy would be wrecked, ravaged, destroyed. He also voted to gut Medicare and Social Security. You don't know that. And voted 3 times to raise the retirement age to 70. Well, you people have worked a long time. You don't have to have the age raised to 70. There are other ways we can save a lot of money. A lot of money. We can start, by the way, not only save a lot of money, make a lot of money. We can start by drilling for our liquid gold right under our feet. Right? I will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. Others running right now, even as Republicans, they're going to destroy Medicare and they're going to destroy Social Security. Under my leadership, we became energy independent for the first time in history and would soon have become energy dominant for the first time ever. Ever. We were drilling at a level that nobody had ever seen before. We were going to very soon be energy dominant. We didn't need anybody already. We were independent. But we were going to have so much oil. We were 3rd after Russia and Saudi Arabia. We were going to have I wish I had a chart. I'm going to make a chart for the next one, but I'll bring it up to my next rally and you people can come in Iowa. But you know what? We had a chart and we were 3rd. We were substantially 3rd, low. And then Trump gets in, and it goes like this. It goes just right through the roof. It went right through them. And we were going to make so much money. And what we were going to do is start paying off our $35 trillion in debt, and we were going to start lowering taxes even more. I got you the biggest tax cut in history. But we were going to lower taxes even more. That was going to create jobs and a whole thing. But we had so much happening, and as soon as he got in, he stopped it. He stopped Anwar. Anwar, the biggest site probably in the world, probably larger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Ronald Reagan tried to do it. He couldn't do it. They all tried to do it. Bush, he tried to do it. They couldn't do it. And I got it done. And in the first week that the person came in, energy, they ended it. They ended Anwar, but I'll get that started very quickly. Alaska was devastated by it. This would have been this is the biggest find anywhere in the world. They think it's actually bigger than Saudi Arabia. It's our land. It's our land. And the people wanted it, the jobs, the economic impact in Alaska. But much beyond that, we would have been 2 and 3 times bigger than anybody else. So we would have had so much money. We would have paid off the debt. And that's where it was going. We were going to pay off the debt. And then this fool, this absolute fool of a president said, we're going to stop drilling. And the prices went through the roof. And inflation followed the energy because that's what caused it. We passed the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. We appointed over 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. And last year, I was able to do something that nobody thought was possible. And you have to really think about this and study this because it's very important. We ended Roe v. Wade. You just think about this. You just think about it. Because people have to get elected. We have to get elected. But I did something that for 52 years people talked. They spent vast amounts of money in fighting it, but they couldn't get the job done. 52 years they fought. And they fought hard. And they spent large. They'd have fundraisers every night. They couldn't get the job done. I got the job done. I got it done. And it's thanks to the 3 great Supreme Court justices and others on the court that I appointed. This issue has been returned to the states where all legal scholars on both sides felt it should be. few points. Now the pro-life community has tremendous negotiating power. You had none. When you had Roe v. Wade, they could do whatever they want. They could destroy the baby in the 8th month, the 9th month, or even after birth. You know that. They were destroying babies after birth. Like Ronald Reagan before me, I believe in the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I believe in that. I think it's very important. Without the exceptions, it is very difficult to win elections. We would probably lose the majorities in 2024 without the exceptions, and perhaps the presidency itself. But you have to follow your heart regardless. You have to follow your heart. You can't do it for just the election, but you have to follow your heart. At the same time, we have to win elections. Otherwise, we'll be back where we were. In order to win in 2024, Republicans must learn how to properly talk about abortion. I was watching some of these people. I won't say where, but states. Okay, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Good candidates, very good candidates. I was watching them get clobbered because they didn't understand the issue. They didn't talk about it properly. This issue cost us unnecessarily, but dearly in the midterms. It cost us dearly, really, and unnecessarily. We have to expose the Democrats like crooked Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that's another great one, as being the true radicals. They're the radicals. Pro-lifers aren't the radicals. They're the radicals on the abortion issue, and you have to say that, in that they allow the killing of babies in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and they even allow the killing of the baby after birth. You remember the governor of Virginia, former governor, he sat there and he said, yes, we will allow abortions, and including when the baby is born, we will wrap the baby and we will talk to the mother and they will execute the baby if that's what they want. No, we can't allow that. But it was okay to rip the baby out of the womb. Remember with Hillary Clinton during the debate, I said, rip the baby out of the womb. Under Roe v. Wade, you could rip the baby out of the womb in the 8th month, in the 9th month, and nobody wants that, including Democrats. You know, they did a poll, I think 94% of the people, after a certain period of time, they don't want that. They don't want to destroy a living soul. Now with Roe v. Wade, no longer, now that it's gone, it's no longer, the power to negotiate is with the pro-life movement, not the radical left Democrats who are so willing to destroy life. So you have to remember, for decades, other Republican candidates raised money and gave speeches. They did everything, but they always failed. For year after year, nobody believed this happened. When this happened, nobody believed it. But while others talked, one president in 52 years actually delivered. When the radical left Marxists and communists came to destroy an innocent man, Brett Kavanaugh, he was an innocent man, very highly respected. You remember, I've never seen anybody, he got treated worse than I did. I've never seen anybody treated like that, the way they treated him, and they knew it was made up. But Brett Kavanaugh was slanders and smears. Everyone wanted me to stop his nomination, let it die. They said, cut him loose. Senators, big senators, said, cut him loose, sir, cut him loose now. He's killing us, cut him loose, meaning let's go to somebody else. And I refused to do so. Republican senators, many Republicans were calling me, cut him loose, sir, he's killing us, cut him loose. I said, no, it's unfair. It would have destroyed that man, would have destroyed him. He couldn't have even got back to the court from where he came if that happened. I said, I won't do that to him. I also put 2 other great justices in, Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, and we're getting all of these great rulings for so many different things. The same people attacking us now are those who have been failing you for decades, but unlike them, I don't just talk, I get the job done. I got this job done. And you have to take that issue and you have to say they're the radicals. They're willing to kill a baby in the 7th month, 9th month, 8th month after birth, after birth. There are some states that have legislation where you can do it after birth, okay? They're the radicals. You're not the radicals. You love babies. They're the radicals. Just recently also, the Supreme Court ruled to something that nobody thought would be possible, ruled to move our country forward with a merit-based system of education. In other words, if you have great marks, great boards, great whatever the criteria is, somebody with half the credits, half the numbers, half people that weren't even good students aren't going to take your place in college. We had people straight A's. They had the highest marks, the highest boards. They did unbelievable, and they were getting rejected for people that were not nearly as qualified. They ruled in favor of merit-based. You know, our country was based on merit-based. Merit. You do well, you work hard, it's merit, and you get ahead. You don't work hard, do well, and somebody else that doesn't do nearly as well, maybe because they didn't work hard, maybe for whatever reason, but they get in and you don't. So we got a ruling that nobody thought would happen, and people are thrilled by it because we have to bring our country back, and we only are going to do it through merit. We have to get our top, our smartest, our best, and it's tough stuff. It's tough stuff. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military, created Space Force, defeated ISIS. I defeated ISIS, remember? They said you'll never defeat ISIS. I defeated ISIS in a period of 4 weeks. I was told by all our Washington generals, you know, we have the greatest generals in the world, but not in Washington. They're the television generals. He liked that one. They're the television generals. But we have great generals. We have generals that wiped out ISIS in a period. Once I told them, go ahead. And they said, we'll do it very quickly, sir. It was unbelievable what they did. I was the first president in decades who didn't start a war. Remember, Hillary Clinton would say, he's going to start a war, his personality. No, my personality kept us out of wars because people weren't going to play around with us. Instead, I brought our troops back home. And I was the one that got the move in Afghanistan. We were all set to just bring them, but we were going to leave with dignity and strength. We're taking the soldiers out last, not first. If you ask a child, just a child, hello. If you ask a child, would you take the soldiers out first, 5 years old? Or would you leave the soldiers until the equipment's out, the American citizens are out, whoever else you want to take? A child would say, well, leave the soldiers at last. They took the soldiers out first. These are incompetent people. We have incompetent people running our country, and our country has never been in more danger of World War III than it is right now. And we don't want to be the world's policeman. Under my leadership, our police and law enforcement knew that we had their back. We had their back. I gave them billions of dollars of excess military. We had military equipment in storehouses, warehouses all over the United States, and they didn't know what to do. They said, we can't give it to them. I said, why don't you want to? Because it will look too military. It will look too, this is a lot of it is safety equipment, you know, trucks that are armor plated and things when they go into riots. And I gave it to them, billions and billions of dollars, and it's had a profound effect. And it was just sitting there gathering dust. It would have been valueless over a period of time. But today I want to express our profound condolences to the family of police officer Kevin Cram, who you know, who was gunned down in the line of duty last week in Algona. You know all about it. Gunned down. We send them our love and our prayers, and we want every police officer across this state to know that they are heroes, and they have our total support. These are great people. Our police officers are great people. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Unlike Biden, I stood proudly with our friend and ally, the State of Israel. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, and I got it built also, by the way. Would have taken 25 years for somebody to get it built. I got it built very quickly. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that they've been working on for 58 years. Planes would fly in every year. They'd come in and they'd leave. Nothing would happen. I got it done very quickly. And I withdrew the United States from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. The bad part is they haven't done anything with it. And now Iran's making nuclear weapons, and this guy does nothing about it. That was the biggest thing I did for Israel. I ended the Iran nuclear holocaust, I call it. It would have been the worst. And we were going to make a deal. We would have had a deal with Iran within 2 weeks after the election took place. And when that happened, all of a sudden China went back to buying oil. I prohibited China from buying oil. I said, if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to buy anything. We're not doing business with you. We're going cold turkey. A lot of people like that anyway. We're going cold turkey. They said, sir, we would never want to buy oil from Iran. Now they're buying millions and millions of barrels of oil, making Iran very rich. And we would have had a deal, good for everybody, good for Iran, frankly. We would have had a deal, but the election got in the way of that one. We did the Abraham Accords. We did so much, but we would have had a deal there, and that would have been a good one. But they've done nothing with it. They haven't done anything with it. They had such a great negotiating position, but they had no idea. But all of that was just the beginning. Here's just some of the agenda that we will immediately implement when we become the 47th President of the United States. This is a movement. Did you hear the woman on ABC the other day? I won't mention her name. I don't want to embarrass her. But she said, because she probably loses her job over there, she said, that's a movement they have. That's a movement. Well, it is a movement. It's a movement like nobody's ever seen before. We have to keep it honest. We have to keep them honest. I will totally obliterate the deep state. We fired Comey. We fired so many different people. And we will rebuild the FBI and the Department of Justice from the ground up and make them fair again. And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. We'll have it settled. Would have never happened. I knew him very well. I got along with him very well. The press hates me to say that, the fake news. Oh, he got along with him. Yeah, it's always good to get along with countries that have 1,800 nuclear weapons. But even if they don't, you want to get along if you can. But we got along well, and he knew he couldn't do it. He would have never done it, never. And he wouldn't have done it for another reason, because oil would have been so low that he wouldn't be able to prosecute it from the standpoint of money. He wouldn't have had the money. When oil went up to $120 a barrel, he was making so much money. You know, you don't think of making money during a war. He was making a fortune. Nobody ever made money like that. And now it's up almost to $100 again. He wouldn't have been able to do it because we had it down to $40 a barrel. But it'll all be done quickly. That will be done very quickly, because somebody said, whose side are you on? I said, I'm on the side of stopping all those people from being killed and all those cities from being knocked down. That's the only side I'm on. And I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. And I'll tell you, we're very close to it. We're very close to it right now. We're very close. We've never been so close. We have an incompetent man negotiating with respect to nuclear weapons, giving away our weapons of mass destruction when other countries don't. We have an incompetent man, doesn't even know what it is, and he's negotiating with the smartest people, the smartest leaders, people that are at the top of their game. He's negotiating with. He has no clue. We're very close to World War III, don't kid yourself. And this will be a war like no other. This isn't army tanks running back and forth shooting at each other. The weaponry is so powerful, it's so devastating. This will be a war like this will be obliteration. We have a man who's incompetent. He was incompetent 25 years ago. Everybody knew that. I will stop the disaster known as Bidenomics, which means inflation, taxation, submission, and failure. That's what it means. To save Iowa farmers and Iowa ethanol, I will cancel Joe Biden's preposterous electric vehicle mandate. Everybody wants an electric car. Isn't it ridiculous? The electric car's fine, but if you want an electric car, you get one. Maybe you don't want to travel long distances, but if you have long distances, now they're doing it with trucks. They want all trucks to be all electric. A large, big, beautiful, I won't use the name of the company, but the best company for making them, they can get 2,000 miles on a very large tank of gas, 2,000 diesel fuel, 2,000. An electric truck can go 300 miles. So does this mean they're going to stop 5 or 6 times during the trip? The trucking businesses are all going to go out of business. So many bad things that you're talking about. Our wonderful chain. The chain is going to be broken at a level it's never been broken before. One of the big truckers told me, you know, every year when we get a new fleet, every 2 years they get, he said, on average, the trucks get better and better and better and more fuel efficient. A lot of good things happen, but they get better and better. If this happens, we will have taken our fleets back 60 years. He said, and nobody's going to survive it. Nobody's going to survive it. But there will be no forced transition to all electric cars. If you want an electric car, you go buy it. I would think that, you know, I got his highest ratings there. You know, when, I don't know if you saw this, but Tucker Carlson interviewed me a few weeks ago. And we had 270 million people watching. And that was on Twitter, I say it, and commonly known as X. What's that all about? What's that all about? But it was on Twitter and other platforms, but it was on there. By the way, the greatest platform is Truth. I hope, is everybody on Truth? I hope. That's the platform. That's my platform. That's where I speak. But we had 270 some odd million people watching. That's the largest in history. And very interesting, it's the largest. You know who the second was? Michael Jackson being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey many years ago. That was second, and that was about at 150 or something. But this was 271 million people. It was such a great honor to be saying it. But when I look at the things, there's so much to talk about. Did anybody see Meet the Fake Press over the weekend? Meet the Press. Meet the Press. New series just opened. Kristen Welker is the head. Took Sleepy Chuck. You remember Sleepy Chuck Todd? She took Sleepy. He looks like he's sleeping, so I came up with the name Sleepy Chuck Todd. He likes me very much. But he got the boot, and she's in, and she was a little nasty, but not too bad. I've had worse. But they got tremendous ratings. As long as we get ratings, as long as we have a voice, we'll be able to be okay, you know, as long as we have a voice. But the fake news was very upset that they allowed me on. Can you imagine? You're running for president, you're leading by 50 or 60 points, and they say, don't put him on, please. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And the next thing, I will not allow the mutilation of our children. Now, can you imagine 10 or 15 years ago having a candidate stand up and say, we will not allow the mutilation? And it's really sexual mutilation of our children, but the mutilation of our children. Can you imagine having to say a thing like this? This is how screwed up our country is and how screwed up even, in a way, the world is, but we're sort of leading the world, where somebody has to get up and say, I'm not going to allow your children to be mutilated. And this is a standard phrase now that you have to say to let people know that you're not going to let that happen. We're going to make it against the law to do. I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And you know, as president, I let the governors really cover the whole thing with respect to the China virus. I let the governors do it. And a lot of the Republican governors, You look at South Dakota, you look at South Carolina, Tennessee. A lot of places did a fantastic job. They did really a fantastic job. Georgia did a very good job. A lot of places did a very good job, and a lot of places didn't. No Democrat did a good job because they closed everything up. They want masks on top of masks. But I gave that's the federalist system. You let the governors make the decision. But it was a very important thing to do, and some of the governors really did a good job. And I'll close the Federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the states where they can individualize education and do it with love for our children. So we're at the bottom of every list in education, and yet we spend more per pupil by 3 times than any other state, any other country. So look, we spend more money by 2 times, 3 times, and Denmark and Sweden and various countries, and China is right in the top 5. Think China, with all of those people, 1.4 billion people, they're a top 5 country. And I know that because I visited schools in China. I said, this is very impressive. And we're way down at the bottom. We're down at the end or very close to the end. We talked about this a little while ago. We're right down at the end. We will move it back to your state. Iowa will take care of its education. We'll make a payment which will be about half of what we spend, or maybe even less than that, and you'll have plenty of money left over. And you're going to have a great school system. Not all states will do great. Some will be incredible. Some will be better than any place. But when you add it up, you're going to have a school system that's going to work, because we have a school system that's absolutely dead. It's a dead system. On day 1, I will sign an executive order instructing, and this is so important, instructing every federal agency to cease the promotion of sex or gender transition at any age. We don't want that. Who thinks you have to say that? I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of youth no longer meets federal health and safety standards. They will be terminated from receiving federal funds effective immediately. And I will keep men out of women's sports. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? 2 weeks ago, a weightlifting record was broken by numbers that you wouldn't believe. Stood for many years. They'd put like a little quarter of an ounce on one side, and they just couldn't do it. The women couldn't get it up. They couldn't do it. Guy comes along. He lifted a lot. He broke the record by like 140 pounds. How crazy is it, right? How crazy. And you know what? It's very bad. It's very demeaning to women, too. The swimmer, I tell the story. I'm not going to go through a big deal, but I look down, I look left, I look right. I look left, I look right. The woman, she's a great champion. She's been swimming largely against these people because they're all champions. Then she looks over here and she sees a guy that's like this monstrous guy, who's a woman now. And he looks at her, stares at her. He's got a wingspan like Wilt Chamberlain. Does anybody know Wilt? Wilt the Silt. Wilt was a large person. Wilt was 7'2", and he was a great NBA player. He scored 100 points in one game, if you remember. That's a record I think will never be broken. But Wilt is still Chamberlain, so she looks and she says, whoa. And then I say jokingly, and she was badly injured in that meet, because when the race started, he went by her so fast that she got windburn, horrible, horrible windburn. She hasn't recovered. It's so crazy. It's so demeaning to women. And I'll sign a law that I said in all 50 states will prohibit sexual mutilation of these beautiful children. I will restore the Trump ban on transgender in the military. We had a ban on it. That's what the generals wanted until they got on television. Just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. That was not easy, but we did it very successfully. And I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Nice big voter ID. But until then, Republicans must compete, and we have to win. And in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. We want America great again. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition. Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard, which will be our greatest defeat in over 200 years if we lose the world standard in currency. People don't know how big that is. It won't happen with me, not even a chance, just like Russia would have never invaded Ukraine and China would not even have thought about raiding Taiwan, and they're thinking about it very seriously now because they look at our country and they see our leader and they say, this is our chance. And we would have left Afghanistan with dignity and strength and pride instead of our greatest embarrassment in history. We were going to leave. If you took the 5 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. It's totally corrupt, and we will never let it happen. That's why you must show up to caucus for our campaign on Monday, January 15th, and bring people. Get everyone you know, make sure they're registered Republican, and get them out to their local precinct caucus meetings. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. They want to go to war with everybody. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. And we will throw off the sick political class that truly hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will defeat crooked Joe Biden, and we will end illegal immigration once and for all, just as we had it 3 years ago. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first, and we will make America great again, greater than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you very much. God bless you all. God bless you.
Climax, c'est clair. C'est la 5 en stéréo. Climax.